Today's episode will be 2024, a year in review. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Booking It. I'm, of course, your eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs. Joining me today is my very good friend, Mr. Tanner Lewis.
Howdy, folks.
Well, it is snowing here in Texas, and so Tanner and I both enjoyed some uh, frolicking time in the white mysteries of a rarity that we only get a couple times in so many years in Texas. So it's been a lot of fun to wake up and see the snow, and it be like 9 p.m. It's very bright outside because all the snow is reflecting the moonlight.
hmm
Anyway, it's been a ton of fun. So anyway, have you done anything special with the snow, Tanner, sledding or anything like that?
I've chased my dog through the
There you go.
snow. It has
That
been,
is,
I forget, this is Teddy's like second time ever seeing snow. And like last time I saw it, he was just a tiny little puppy. And so he has fallen in love with this winter wonderland and
yeah.
cannot get enough of it. Anytime he sees anyone go outside, he just sits by the door and he has a little bell to tell us that he has to go to the restroom. And so he
That's
just
cute.
rings his bell to go outside and whines at the door anytime somebody goes outside. Because he's just like, just let me out in the snow. Just let me out in the snow.
That's funny. Caroline and I, my sister, just finished building a snowman before this, so there we are with
Oh
our cute
yeah,
little snowman made
I
from.
love it.
It's
Oh, I
you
love
know
the scarf.
yeah, no, it's a a little too big for him, but it's keep him warm. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
who knows how long this will last? This will last though. So it'll probably be
Hopefully
mostly
not
gone by tomorrow.
tonight, because I have a meeting
Yeah,
tonight that I would like to be able to get out of my home to go do.
right,
So
right. Yeah, and the
prayerfully
good news is
not tonight.
it's mostly snow. It's not a ton of ice. So
Yeah,
I don't know how
it's
you
not
are up
bad.
there, but
It's just trying to get out of here. You
yeah,
know,
true.
four-wheel drive,
True. Yep,
get you get you out. But
yep,
anything less than that, and you're gonna be stuck on the hill. We had
yeah.
to we had to drag our neighbor out who did not have four-wheel drive this
Oh
morning.
no.
Jumped in the side by side and hooked up a chain, drug him across the ice. It was actually very fun to watch. And I did
Yeah.
not go outside to partake in that. I was very comfortable drinking my coffee and staring at them through the window.
Yes,
But
that is a very neighborly thing to do in many ways. So, okay. Well, today we are going to do a year-end review of our reading last year, basically. So we're going to give some honorable mentions and then like our top five books that we read, both fiction and nonfiction from 2024. And we're doing this because a lot of podcasts who review books do this at the end of the year. It makes sense. So we thought, hey, why not jump on that trend too? And after this is
because
over,
we do not steal ideas.
that's right. No plagiarism here. So after this is over though, we're gonna go over to our patreon.com/booking it, our patron only podcast, and we're gonna talk about kind of our expectations for 2025 in terms of how we're planning on doing our reading, how many books we're trying to read, or how consistent we're gonna be, and then also kind of evaluating how we did in 2024 when it came to those kind of things too. So you want to kind of have the ending to this conversation, make sure you sign up for $10 a month to get an extra bonus episode where we talk about that. So anyway, Tanner, let's start with some honorable mentions here. Let's just go back and forth, bullet fire or no, with rapid fire bullet point style. You just give me an honorable mention, talk about it for half a second, and then kick it back to me, and I'll give some too. How many honorable mentions did you have, by the way? Because I have a few.
I have the two in my brain
Okay,
that I did not write down, which
okay,
means that
that's fine.
they barely exist.
Okay, go
Um,
ahead.
so this year I actually tried to go through and read Watership Down. I did not
Okay,
finish it. This is why
okay.
it has to sit
Oh,
on the honorable mention.
okay.
But I mean, I feel like it counts since it's just a collection of stories, right? This
False. It's not true.
it yes and no. Yes and no.
It's like it's a narrative.
Okay, let me be. Let me be.
Okay. At least
I
it's a
know
good
that we had
book,
a
so it
podcast
deserves on your
about this.
list. Okay.
It's a it does it's good.
I'll toss out a few then. We can go back to the other honorable mention. So one I listened to over the summer, actually over our guys' road trip, Tanner, Project Hail Mary by Andy
Oh
Weir.
yeah, I
He
remember you
wrote
talking about that.
Yeah, he wrote like The Martian and things like that. It was pretty good. I actually thought it was very enjoyable. Like it's a fun read. It's got some emotion. It's got some like hard science fiction. It's got a kind of compelling mystery in the beginning. It's not like, the prose isn't spectacular or anything like that, but overall, it was pretty good. And there's gonna be a movie with Ryan Gosling starring in it coming out in a few years. So I'm
Really?
excited for that. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
Hey, hey. So I enjoyed listening to that one. It was a fun read. Another one I just finished actually a few weeks ago, Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. It's the first book in his Discworld series.
Mm,
And I'd read another one in the series called Guards. It's you don't have to like start. It's complicated. It's not like a narrative series where there's like,
yeah.
a thrust and a conclusion. It's kind of, a bunch of narratives following these different groups of people and side characters in this world. It's a lot of
Hmm.
fun. So anyway, that's the first book he wrote for it though, and you can kind of tell. Like I think Guards is a lot better, but it's a ton of fun. He's very funny. He's British and he's very witty. It's pretty hilarious in terms of his commentary on society
Yeah.
and the medieval style, magic world. So it's a ton of fun. I really liked it.
I
Okay,
know.
one
I
last
feel like the
one.
Wheel of Time instilled in me just this love for British cussing. And some
Robert
it's
Jordan's American. What the heck?
I know, but like you've read it.
Yeah,
It's
they say bloody a lot.
It's British curse word.
Yeah.
It's British curse words. And so I just think that that's hilarious.
And so you
Anyways,
just you go out of your way to hear British curse words. Okay, that's wonderful.
that's not true.
Okay, last one real quick, and I'll kick it back to you. What It Means to Be Protestant by Gavin Ortland. It's a really good book in terms of just for Protestants and for non-Protestants too to kind of understand like what Protestantism is, how it kind of positions itself in response to Roman Catholicism or Eastern Orthodoxy or something like that, or even sometimes like a low church evangelicalism that doesn't really have much connecting it to the Reformation. So it's a very good book in terms of defending Protestantism, but also explaining it to those who are in, maybe a situation where they would identify as Protestant, but don't really know historically what it means. So a very
Mm.
good book, very reasonable. If you're non-Protestant and you're listening, I think it's very ecumenical as well. So I think it's overall a very good read. Yeah. All right, Tanner, your other one you had.
Yeah, I know. I'm the Iliad.
Okay.
It didn't belong on the top five, but
Did you
it's
reread that
still.
yes this year? This year?
Oh, right, that was 2024. Ah, I'm lumping it in. It's
No, that
the
was
school
23.
year.
You read it in 2023.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was the school year. It's in
You
my
read the
brain.
Odyssey this year. You can count that instead.
I did actually. It's in the top five.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Okay. Okay. Whatever. The Iliad. Okay. I just have a few rapid fire then.
Yeah, good.
The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self. I talked about this on Patreon earlier. I read it over the summer. It's a good book about just kind of how we got here in terms of the LGBTQ plus movement and how that is connected to philosophical and societal movements relating to how we talk about personhood and selfhood. Very interesting. It can be dense at times, but it's very good and very important to read. Next, I kind of have just the Wheel of Time and Stormlight Archive here. A lot of fun to read, not like spectacular, but enjoyable and good audible listens as well. Uh,
Hmm.
The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This was a first time read for me. I read a lot of McCarthy this year, and I just did a podcast on that with my friend Isaiah Kozowski. So you can check that out as well. Two more real quick. Revival and Revivalism by Ian Murray. This was actually my main source for my senior thesis, but really enjoyable read about the Second Great Awakening and kind of how a theology of revival is very important as it relates to even the modern day and as it relates to understanding the first, second Great Awakenings, the differences between those, what a godly revival looks like. Overall, great history, great theology, very good read. And last but not least, Little Women, spectacular episode that Tanner and I did on that over the summer.
Oh,
Uh,
right. I forgot that you
All-time
hadn't read that
classic.
until this year.
Yeah, I know, not all the way
It's
through.
brutal.
But it is a very good book. Highly recommend it to all ages. Check out Tanner and I's episode for a more fuller elocution of that. But
It's
okay.
my favorite book of all time, people. It's almost insulting that it's not on his honorable mentions.
Yeah, not on my actual top five, you mean?
On your actual top five. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
I know.
just a little upset about that.
Yeah, I know. It's probably the one that is the closest to being on there. And maybe it should be. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. I remembered one more honorable mention. It's a
Oh, go ahead.
it's a nonfiction. It's a it's called The Comfort Crisis. It was one that I did for my senior thesis once again. You know,
Hmm.
sounding like a broken record here, just copying Cooper's stuff. But nonetheless, it was mine. Cooper hasn't read it, but
I
it's
have.
really good. It's really good. there's a little bit of language, but
Sure.
it's it's an adult. It's read at
It's
your own
written to
risk.
adults. Yeah.
Yeah, written to adults.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it to anybody under the age of 16,
Okay.
but nonetheless, still really good book if you feel like, yeah, I don't know. It was really good. I enjoyed it. It made me think a lot.
Good. Good, good.
Yeah. There's a child behind me.
Hi, Tanner
He's
sister.
waving.
Is that Taylor?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Speaking to the mic, Tay. You're on.
Hi, Cooper.
Hey,
Can you hear me now? That's
I
good.
can.
Yeah. Now she has no idea that she's famous now. It's okay.
That's right. The whole world has heard.
I know.
Okay. Top five. Tanner, hit us with your top five. Number five.
Okay. Down at number 5, it's The Odyssey.
There we go. There we go. Hey, good pick. Good
I
pick.
know. Hey, it's good. It was entertaining. I'm not
I
gonna
read The
lie.
Odyssey twice this year. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite school books, I think, that I've ever
Yeah.
had to read. It was very engaging.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is. It is spectacular. It is.
There's
It really got into my mind that an epic, a classical epic written 3,000 years ago, they have lasted for a reason. These are epic. They're fun to read. They're engaging and thought
yeah.
provoking at the same time.
Yeah, seriously. They're it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I consider putting that on my honorable mentions as well as the Epic of Gilgamesh because, man, those ancient stories are
Oh yeah.
rip-roaring fun, and you understand why
Did you
it
read
lasted.
Gilgamesh for
I
school?
did. Yes, yes, for college.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
What class are those under?
that
I
was
feel like
West
you've
Civ.
mentioned West Civ. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you've mentioned those to me before, but a couple of months ago, but yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Anyways, I don't think I've actually read like the full Epic of Gilgamesh.
Mm,
I feel like I've read, I don't know. That's besides the point though. I feel like
yeah.
I've read like a abridged
Yeah.
version
There's
maybe at
stories.
some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My number five, Dominion by Tom Holland. And of course, as everybody likes to say, not Spider-Man, the historian. Um, so I talk about this
Uh,
on Patreon as well. My little blurb about the books I read over the summer and my favorites. But it is spectacular. It's really this secular historian talking about how Christian values have influenced modern Western secular values. And I coming into this book, it was kind of talked up. I expected a book trying to prove a thesis, but instead it was just telling a story, the story of the West, Christian history, really, um, and then all the way up to the modern day, and how we got our values like human dignity, human rights, equality, democracy. All these things can really be traced back to the Christian influence upon the West. And so when the West tries to reject Christianity, well, you're rejecting the basis for a lot of the things that we believe. So anyway, really good book. Highly recommend it. And just in terms of Christian history and in terms of this, secular historian who's grappling with the fact that Christianity is responsible for a lot of the things that we take for granted today. So anyway,
mm, yeah.
have you ever heard
That's
of
good.
I probably talked about that before.
Yeah, you have talked about that. I think I feel like a lot of the stuff that you're talking about like floated over my mind
Yeah.
as we talked about it that one night for me, whatever time it was for you here in the States, but
Yeah.
I was overseas and we had a pretty long conversation.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I feel like you've mentioned that though.
Yeah. Anyway, that's number five for me. Number four for you,
Yeah.
Tanner.
Number 4, Stormlight Archive, The Way of Kings. I
Okay.
scraped it in. I finished it on like December 20th of last year, but I also knocked it out in a week, so I feel like
There
that
you go.
counts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And you can hear,
a solid book, but
yeah,
we have full thoughts on that
yeah, that's right.
recently.
That's right. You can hear Tanner and I talk about that on a podcast recently. So it's
Yes,
conveniently
I'm.
called The Way of Kings with Tanner. So it's
Yeah, I know, right? It's like my first episode
yeah, no,
recently.
it's not. I just did that because I talked about it by myself, and then
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that episode is a lot better than my solo episode, by the way. So check that one out instead.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah. I'm sticking to my prediction as well. I'm
okay,
getting closer and
that's because well, it's not gonna be for a while, but I did hint at something for you. Yes, I did.
yes, you did. You texted me and I was a little mad at you because now I'm just like expected. I'm like
It's well,
I'm shouting at
it's
the
okay.
audiobook in my
No,
ears
it's
as I'm
okay.
packing my
This
bags.
is the second book. A lot of things have developed, Tanner. Okay.
Anyways, yeah, that's my fourth.
So number five for you was Odyssey, four, Stormlight Archive.
Yes.
Okay. Number five was Dominion for me, and number four is going to be Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I just
Ooh.
finished this a few days before, maybe the 31st. I may have finished this book New Year's Eve. But anyway, super good book. Like Jane Austen, one of my favorite authors. Tanner and I have talked about that elsewhere as well.
Oh, we'll rant about
Emma,
that forever.
yeah, Emma's good episodes. You guys should listen to those. But anyway, Mansfield Park it's one that took me a while to get into. It's one of our longer ones, but and I was kind of like breaking it up. I was reading it along with another podcast, but uh, I was kind of going chunk by chunk. But near the end, especially, you get really into it. It is Jane Austen at her most subtle when it comes to, but also most strong when it comes to like morality, when it comes to character development, when it comes to character interaction. Anyway, and you're really connected to the main character, um, and you really want to see her succeed, and you don't know who she's going to end up with. Like it really is kind of a mystery,
Mm.
for a while. So anyway, it's actually it's not like a rom-com where it's like, will she, will he, are they going to get together? But at the same
Yeah.
time, a really good book. Jane Austen at her best. Mansfield Park, number four.
Mansfield Park. I have to write that down because I'm still finding all of my books for next year and
Yeah,
lining them up. You know what I mean?
you've
How many
read
words is
Emma,
it?
Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, I've read them. If it's a big one, I've read it for of hers, really.
Let me see how much the word count is.
Oh, wow.
160,000.
160.
Yeah, longest novel.
That's a
Oh, second longest. Emma's longer. Okay.
yeah.
This says Pride
Emma
and
and
Prejudice is at 120,000.
this one is also telling me that it's at that Emma's at 169.96.
That's what I see. Yep.
Yeah, like scraping it out by like 500 words.
Yep.
Intriguing.
Well,
Anyways,
so
yeah.
I still have to read Northanger Abbey and Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen to kind of complete the canon. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I've read all of her
I,
books, and all of them are very good.
I own a copy of Sense and Sensibility, but I need to knock it all the way
Yeah.
out. That
Yeah.
one and Northanger Abbey.
Yeah.
But
We're
yeah,
reading Persuasion again next semester for college. I look forward to going back to that one because I really
mm,
want to give that one another go through. So I look forward to
yeah.
that.
I feel like I've read Persuasion.
You probably have.
I probably have. I wouldn't put it past me. Anyways,
Yeah. Okay.
moving on to number three.
Number three for you.
Number three, Never Split the Difference. This is a
Okay.
nonfiction, and it is by far one of the most interesting books I have ever read. It's going through, it's it's about negotiating, okay? And it's talking about how to negotiate and get what you want in any conversation,
Okay.
right? And not in a manipulative way, but just in a like make yourself known, right? Like this is how to do it. And it's coming from an FBI hostage negotiator and who has negotiated some of the most high risk ne- hostages out of terrorism organizations and
Yeah.
just everything. If it comes remotely to your mind as being cool, it's in that book, and
Yeah.
his storytelling is so good, and the way he pairs it with the lessons that you're trying to take away from it, it is excellent. Would highly recommend 16 and up.
Okay. What's the name, title, and author again?
It's Never Split the Difference, and I believe it's by Chris Voss, but don't
Chris
quote me
Voss.
until
Okay.
I've Googled it. Yeah, would highly recommend for anybody who is going into the business world or wants to do anything. But once
Gotcha.
again, uh,
Yeah.
you know, junior, junior, sophomore. Yeah, Chris Voss.
Chris Voss. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Cool. All right.
Anyways, that's number three.
Number three for me, Kristen Lavren's Daughter by Sigrid Undset. I did a solo episode on this one, but it is basically just this three-book epic about this young girl who's born in Norway and just her entire life, basically. So the first book's plot is that she uh, is born into this kind of like wealthy farm owner in Norway, and she is betrothed this other guy who is very nice, but she doesn't like that much. And then she gets sent away because of plot reasons to this like abbey, and there she meets this like young, dashing nobleman who's kind of on the out, basically. But they fall in love, they commit sin, and eventually they get married in kind of these, circumstances to where her father's not that happy, nobody's very happy, but it is what it is. And that it just kind of follows from there, where, they committed that sin and that led to them getting married and led to their life. Anyway, all to say, it is spectacular when it comes to just capturing the medieval world fully, the medieval mind, God's redemptive work in grace, working through relationships, working through people. It is just a wonderful book of Christian imagination, as I called it a lot in that episode.
Mhm.
So a lot of people who read it this year really loved it, that I've seen online. It's a very, very good book. Again, it is for probably older people, more closer to adults, but it is a spectacular work of Christian storytelling and also not being like blunt or heavy-handed, but also talking about Christian ideas and themes like directly because the medievals were Roman Catholic pretty much if you're in Europe. And
Yeah.
so, but dealing with that in a way that is godly and good. So really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Okay,
Number
number two for
two,
you.
Wheel of Time, Towers of
Okay.
Midnight.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Yeah.
I couldn't pick the. That was the best one that I read this year
I think I
of the
agree with
Wheel of
you.
Time.
I think I agree with you.
I think that has to. I think that has to be the capstone of Wheel of Time for me. That it was just the culmination of everything. I don't need to go deep into it, but the wrapping up of a 14 book series this year.
Wait, hang on. That was not the final book. You know that, right?
No, I know. I'm
Okay.
saying like it's the one that
So you're talking
best
Wheel of Time generally
represents.
now, not that
Yeah,
final book. Okay, not the book.
yeah.
Okay.
But this is the best one that I read this year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
this is the highest peak I got to
Yes,
in
yes.
the Wheel of Time. And
Yeah.
anyways,
I
that's
really
number two.
enjoyed that was book 13, I think. And yeah, that was my favorite one too.
Yeah.
This year at least that I read because it's action packed. It's like the narrative is moving somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Character payoffs, really great. Yeah.
Yeah, released from the slow books. You've got
Mhm.
great writing again with Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, excellent.
Cool, cool. Okay. Number two for me, The Wonderful Works of God by Herman Bavinck. So
Mm.
this is one that my dad bought for me in like May of 2023 on the recommendation of one of our pastors. And I started reading it over the summer and eventually just was trying to like take it pretty slow. Didn't read it, so kind of just like shelved it. Um, but then a friend of mine, actually, he was my moot court partner last year for Speech and
Mm.
Debate. His church was kind of like doing a read through and kind of like posted on their website like uh, you know, a list of just like read this chapter by here. I wasn't doing it with them, but I was just following
Yeah.
the schedule on my own, starting kind of in May of last year, and then finished it. Uh, I think over Thanksgiving break was when I finished it.
Hmm.
So anyway, all to say, it holds a special place in my heart for kind of that um, being bought for me by my dad and reading it for a while. But it is a very, very good, 600-page version of systematic theology. So Bavinck was Dutch Reformed, but even if you're not Dutch Reformed, I think there's a lot of value in it for everybody. It's very doxological. It's very meditative when it comes to praising God for who He is based on His doctrine. And I found that some of the latter chapters, like the one on sanctification and eternal life, are actually some of my favorites. So
Hmm.
anyway, it's well worth the read. It's a very beautiful book as well. It's on the more expensive side, but it's well made. It's very beautiful, and it's very, very good for your soul. So, Wonderful
Yeah.
Works of God, Herman Bavinck.
Yeah, you're gonna need to send me that link.
Yeah, I will.
That
It's very
that
good.
sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Hannah. Number one, the best book you read last year.
Okay. Full Time: Work and the Meaning of Life by David L. Bonson. Okay.
Okay.
This is from a Christian author who looks at work and says, what is the meaning of it, right? Like the society says and culture says you work so that you never have to work again.
Sure.
That's the goal, right? And he just immediately first chapter says, but why? Right? Like why stop? Right? Like what's the meaning behind stopping? Right? Laziness? That's not an admirable trait that Christians should be pursuing. What we are pursuing is glorification of God and
Mm-hmm.
meaning through that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And we glorify God through our work. And
Yeah.
the entire book is just this beautiful follow through of like, what does it mean for Christians to throw themselves fully into their work? And
Mm.
almost, he's almost spitting in the face of this work life balance and saying, God praises work and our families at the same time. And
Yeah.
there is a place and a time for both,
Right.
right? The balance between them is throwing yourself fully 100% into both whenever the time is right for both of them, right? There's a time to be able to go into the office and work late that night so that you can have a project finished to go in for a meeting in the morning, right?
Yeah.
There's a time when for you to be able to go home early and spend time with your family so that you can go to your kid's baseball game, right?
Yeah.
That's where throwing yourself 100% in is knowing that flexibility in that, right?
Yeah.
and figuring that out. Anyways, there's so much more behind that. Like that's just the tip of the iceberg. It is one of the best written nonfiction I have ever read. And
Really, really cool.
if you are in high school, in college, anywhere, like I think that everybody needs to read this book before going into the workforce.
Gotcha.
Every Christian.
Really cool.
It's
Okay,
excellent.
say title and author again.
Full Time: Work and the Meaning of Life. It's by David L. Bahnsen.
Cool.
We can also let's throw these all into the description
That's a
below.
good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll throw our top five into the description below.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, before I say my number one, I just realized that I feel like I needed to include this in kind of my honorable mention section as well. I reread the Iliad, I reread the Odyssey, I reread the Aeneid, I read the Divine Comedy, Paradise Lost. So like the classical epics, I feel like I need to say something about because they are good and they are foundational to like everything else. And while I
Yeah.
didn't like enjoy reading them as much as some of these other books, they are still technically brilliant. They are thought-provoking, deep, rich, and so many people I respect, love them in terms of the
Yeah.
great tradition. They're the foundation of civilization, tradition, culture, writing. They're awesome. Like, and especially as we just see,
Yeah.
The Aeneid is definitely closer to Christianity than Homer is, as many of church fathers saw. And then we have the Divine Comedy, which is kind of the fullest expression at that point of the tradition, and then Paradise Lost coming alongside, complementing that as well. Just the growth we see in that is very awesome. So anyway,
Yeah.
okay, all to say, my number one is another Christian classic, The Confessions of Saint Augustine. Spectacular. Like, turns out one of the greatest books ever written is one of the greatest books ever written. Like it is just meditative,
gosh.
rich. The knowledge of the Psalms that Augustine has, the knowledge of the Scriptures, the honesty he puts to the page, being one of the first like psychological autobiographies that we have. It's just amazing. Not a lot to say about it because you should just read it. And I don't know why it took me this long to read it, but I wish I read it even slower, and I will do that on a reread at some point. But it is well worth your time, good for your soul. Highly recommend. Number one book, Confessions, St. Augustine.
Is it dense?
I don't find it to be, especially if you get the right translation. I don't think
Okay.
it's that hard to follow. No, it's especially when he's talking more about his biography. When he goes
Okay.
to like talk about more theology, it can get kind of weird. But yeah, no, it's
Okay.
pretty easy to read. Yeah,
Yeah. Was it? That was in Latin, right? Am I
it was
remembering that
originally in
correctly?
Latin. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you could read it hypothetically if you were a Latin student and you kept up with your work. So
I know. I've been in the nerdiest way possible. I've been keeping up with all of my Latin just by asking ChatGPT to hold a conversation with me in Latin.
okay,
It's the most
wonderful.
homeschooled thing I've ever done, but it helps me keep up with my
That is like the
Vulgate.
fullest expression of who you are. Honestly, is that whole scenario. Okay.
I know.
Well, that about does it for this episode. We have our top five honorable mentions, and like Tanner said, we'll put that somewhere so you guys can see that in list form instead of having to listen back through if you want. Okay,
Yeah, don't
well,
want to
Tanner,
force you guys to listen to our voice too much.
that's right. I hate doing it when I edit these, so I wouldn't want to force that up on anyone. Okay, donor shoutouts, Tanner. Where would someone go if they wanted a donor shoutout?
Patreon.com/booking it.
Amen.
Very simple.
Yep, $5 or more gets you a shout out, but you can donate any amount and get all sorts of rewards. So make sure you go check it out. And by
Yeah.
the way, if you don't donate,
Donations
which is
don't go to our pocket. They keep the lights on, folks.
That's right.
Let's be 100% honest. This is a
100%
hobby
true.
for us. We do
Right.
not like spending money on this. We are broke college students, and
well, you're not in college.
well, I know I'm a mission. I work in missions.
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
but
yeah,
nonetheless, even more so.
right. This
If
is
you
not
want-
this is not a for-profit endeavor, is the
Yes.
point. So we are
This
very
is
grateful
by-
for the amount of money.
Yes. If you
Help keep the
if you
lights on.
enjoy the podcast and want to keep hearing it, you guys are the people that keep it going. So
That's right. That's right. And hey, if you can't donate, if you still want to help out, 5-star rating and review, best way to do that. Share it with your friends, all that good stuff.
excellent.
Yep. Okay. Donor
Mhm.
shout outs. Let's shout them out. Tanner, Nana. Woohoo. Van Pappy and Wayla.
Yes, Nana. Thank you. Van Pappy and Wayla.
Anna.
Yeah. Anna.
Keenan.
Thank you, Keenan.
Will.
Will.
My
Our newest
lovely
patron.
mother, Mrs. Jenny.
Miss Jenny Cobbs.
Mrs. Hall.
Thank you. This is all.
And last but not least, Kara.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you for your support. We will ever be grateful and continue to shout you out for your support. Okay. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back probably next week with something. So until then,
Keep on booking it.